It's so sad that I'm filming this on the actual Halloween day, but all my decorations downstairs are already ripped down. But as you guys very well know, real life time does not match up with YouTube time. So with that in mind, it is November 1st for all of you watching at home, and let me just lay out some facts for you all. Fall is the best season by far. It's got the best temperature, the best weather patterns. It is the best time of the year in New York where I live. But the best holiday is undoubtedly Christmas. People go absolutely insane with decorations inside and outside of their houses, and it pretty much lasts 2 months. Maybe even into January a little bit. So what am I getting at? Like, what's the point of this whole spiel? For me, and very soon for all of you, it's Christmas time. But what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So a few days ago, I threw up a poll on my community tab. You guys surprisingly chose the 3-minute, 30-minute, and 3-hour mac and cheese recipes. But this is kind of perfect to ease our way into Thanksgiving and Christmas recipes. Each one of these 3 recipes looks absolutely delicious. I am drooling as I watch through this video. Let's get right into this. Alright people, so completely on my own, without any outside influences or comments or anything like that, I decided that I'm gonna work backwards on this episode and make the 3-hour one first, the 30-minute one second, and then the 3-minute one last. This way, hopefully all 3 recipes will be ready to try at about the same time. Genius, I know. For the 3-hour mac and cheese, grab some olive oil and cavatappi pasta, white cheddar cheese and Gruyere, some whole milk and Parmesan, some Fontina cheese, some cayenne pepper, black pepper, butter, ground nutmeg, salt, flour, some fresh garlic, and a loaf of sourdough bread. Now Alexis starts by making some garlic-infused olive oil by simmering away some fresh garlic in about a ½ cup of oil. I have no idea how she didn't burn hers, because I kept my stove at the lowest heat setting, and even after 25 minutes, the garlic was pretty much black, like this. I think I'm just gonna let the garlic sit in the oil a little bit longer and infuse, and in about an hour or so, strain it out so you have the oil separated from the garlic. Next, we have to make some homemade breadcrumbs, and it really does pain me to rip apart this fresh loaf of sourdough bread. It smells so good, and I just bought this from the store. I really couldn't help myself but to like steal a few pieces off the sheet tray before I dried them out completely. Once your bread is completely dried out and cooled down, you're gonna throw it into either a food processor or a blender and just pulse it a couple times until you get some really nice fine breadcrumbs, but also some good sized chunks as well. For the actual finishing topping, it's just gonna be a mix of your breadcrumbs as well as some grated Parmesan cheese and a few tablespoons of our infused oil to pull it all together. Now before we start the cheese sauce, we have to shred an absolute ton of our 3 cheeses. The white cheddar, the Gruyere, and Fontina. These are actually 3 of my favorite cheeses, so I think this is gonna be delicious in the end. And once you've got 5 cups total of your 3 cheeses, you can set it aside and begin making your roux for the base of our cheese sauce. If you are unfamiliar, a roux is just a simple combination of some flour and butter. It acts as a thickening agent to a ton of different sauces. And today we're gonna be using this for 2 out of the 3 recipes. You're gonna wanna add your milk and then your salt and pepper, your nutmeg and cayenne, and then stir it for a few minutes until it gets nice and thick and creamy like this. Did I forget to stir it for a couple minutes and we got some brown bits stuck on the bottom? Yes, we did. It still should work fine, I'm just not gonna scrape the bottom and get those brown burnt bits in the actual sauce. Now surprisingly, none of these 3 mac and cheese recipes use any of the pasta water in the cheese sauce, which kind of shocked me. A lot of cheese sauces and most pasta sauces in general use some of the pasta water as a binding agent. It helps to emulsify a lot of sauces and make them thicker as well as add a little bit of salt so you don't have to add a ton at the end. But to each their own, I eventually drained out the water, dumped my cooked pasta right into our cheese sauce. And for whatever reason, I forgot to show this on camera, you want to mash up some of the softer pieces of your garlic from the oil and mix those right into the pasta as well. And I popped it into the oven at 350 degrees for 50 minutes. And in the meantime, we are going to begin recipe number 2. Now the 30-minute pasta is different in a few ways. Mainly the pasta that they use medium shells as opposed to cavatappi, and it's just a stovetop macaroni. This doesn't get baked. To make it, I got some medium shells and salt, some more whole milk and some flour, some yellow cheddar cheese, Monterey Jack, pepper, butter, ground mustard, some Gouda, and some paprika. Now honestly, this recipe is refreshingly simple. The only prep work you really have to do is shredding your cheeses and boiling your pasta. Everything is done pretty much in either 1 or 2 bowls on the stovetop. And honestly, this is kind of what I think of when I think of homemade mac and cheese. Unfortunately, again, we're not going to use any of our pasta water, so I am going to drain that off. And we're going to start the cheese sauce pretty similar to the last one with our base of butter, flour, and eventually some whole milk. This version also uses ground mustard and paprika as flavorings instead of the cayenne and the nutmeg that we used, which I kind of like. I don't mind a little bit of hidden heat in recipes like this. Now once this sauce was thickened a bit, about 10 minutes later, I added in my cheeses, mixed until everything was melted down and combined, and finished it off by dumping in my shells. Recipes like this are so hard to not just eat right away, but I'm gonna be patient. I'll eat it on camera first while I make the 3-minute mac and cheese. Now this one is super simple. It's all done in a mug or a microwave safe container. You're just gonna need some shredded cheddar cheese, elbow macaroni, cornstarch and salt, some black pepper, some water, and some milk. I've done so many videos at this point that it's kind of hard to make statements like this, but I want to say that this is probably top 5 most simple recipes I've ever done on the channel. It's literally just combining the pasta and water in a microwave safe cup, microwaving it in 1-minute intervals until the pasta is cooked and the water is absorbed. And then you just have to mix the milk, the cornstarch, and the salt and pepper together before adding it in the cup with the pasta. I was skeptical a little bit of this last step when I added in the cheese, but in fact, the pasta and the cup itself was hot enough to melt the cheese and make a nice little gummy sauce. And with that being done and my baked pasta coming out of the oven as we speak, I was able to plate up every single recipe we've made today. They're all still hot and fresh, and I'm dying to give these a try, so let's do it. So going into this, I had an idea of which one I was gonna like the most, and after making them, I still feel the same way, but I'm not gonna say it till after I try them all, try to be unbiased. I was saying as I was mixing this one that it kind of just looked like Elmer's glue, or like some kind of fake cheese. I'm quite shocked to say that for the 2.5 minutes it took me to put this together, it's not bad at all. I was fully ready to like rip this one apart. I would say it's quite heavy on the pepper, but other than that.
What are you scared of? What are you scared of? Being in the shower and someone breaking in, and I gotta fight them naked.
Okay, so that's nonsense. I thought you were.
If we didn't know I have an audience behind the camera, rather than
Alright.
rather than give them all specific number ratings, I think I'm just gonna rank them 1, 2, and 3 based on overall taste, texture. With that being said, number 2 is here. Visually, this definitely looks the best. The last one looks kind of dry. The first one looked like it had fake cheese glue in it.
What are you gonna be from Holly?
I'm gonna be a pillow since everyone loves to sleep on
Oh
me.
my god.
That's great.
I don't know what is wrong with me, but anytime I make any type of cheese sauce, whether it's like a queso, a mac and cheese, it's always like gritty. I'm always thinking I'm doing something wrong with the roux, undercooking it, maybe overcooking it. I don't know what it is. I don't think I've ever once in my life made a smooth cheese sauce that didn't have like lumps. With that being said, it tastes good. If somebody in the comments knows why that happens, please enlighten me. Because if it wasn't for that, this would be fantastic. The taste is great. You get a nice mix of the cheddar and the two other cheeses. This is really good though. I'm still gonna leave my opinions till the very end. Try them all first. I wasn't gonna say this because this comes off as really rude and I don't mean it to be rude, but in the video as well as my version, it looks quite dry. A little bit like a casserole more than a mac and cheese. I'm sure it's delicious. Alexis, if you're watching, I'm sorry. Yeah, the flavor of this is great. You get a nice little heat in the back of your tongue. You got good textures with the crunch on top. It's probably just a case of my personal preference. But if you had this flavor profile with these 3 cheeses and the garlic in this form, with a nice runny like cheese sauce, some cracked pepper on top, that would be absolutely perfect. Only because the time difference it took to make, I would probably put this number 1. But if you make this and you also like garlic, use that garlic oil and some of the smashed garlic in the pasta. I think that makes the biggest difference. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, slap a like on this one. Comment what you want to see me do next week. Whichever comment gets the most likes is what I will do. No questions asked. As long as it's not like a giant peanut butter cup or something, because I prefer to live. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you don't already. Other than that, have a fantastic weekend. I will see you right back here next time. Peace.
With the M without the AD. Flipping burgers and my money super lazy. Try and make a meal tonight, they ain't paying me. Try and supersize my life with my 18. Yeah, our style wasn't wavy, but we had a vision. We could make it out.